Hello, everybody. Another very important lesson. I feel like I say that a lot right now, but it's very true. I can find missing sides and angles of right triangles using Pythagorean Theorem and SOHCAHTOA. So whenever you're dealing with a right triangle, it's going to either be Pythagorean Theorem or SOHCAHTOA. If there's an angle involved, then we use SOHCAHTOA. And if there is no angle involved, then we use Pythagorean Theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So the first question is it SOHCAHTOA or is it Pythagorean Theorem? And again, to answer that, we'll want to determine if there's an angle involved or not. And when I say an angle involved, I'm not talking about the right angle, I'm talking about one of the acute angles. So your steps for each are here. If there's an angle involved, again, we're using SOHCAHTOA, and you're going to follow those steps. No matter what, the first three steps are the same. When you're finding a side, you're cross multiplying. When you're finding an angle, you're doing inverse. If only sides are involved, then you're using Pythagorean Theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where a and b are interchangeable, they're the legs, and c is the hypotenuse. So, I see a right triangle, so the first question is Pythagorean Theorem or SOHCAHTOA. Is there an angle involved? Yes. Since there's an angle involved, I'm going to be using SOHCAHTOA. So my first step is to label my A, O, and H. So H is the hypotenuse, the long slanted side opposite the right angle. The angle always connects the H to the A, which makes this my O. Step 2, out of the A, the O, and the H, which two are involved? Well, in this example, A and H are involved, so I'm using CA, which is an acronym for cosine of theta equals A over H. Theta is the angle, which in this case is 26. A is 14. H is x. Now again, for SOHCAHTOA, sometimes I'm doing inverse, sometimes I'm doing cross multiplication. Since x is in the fraction, I'm going to cross multiply. Now before I cross multiply, I like to go to my calculator, make sure that you are in degree mode. So I'm going to hit mode, and yes, I am in degree mode. If you're not in degree mode, you will get the wrong answer every single time. Cosine of 26.8987 ... So I'm going to write 0.8987 ... That means there's more there. I'm just going to type the whole thing, and I'm just going to copy and paste it in my calculator. And I'm going to cross multiply. That gives me 0.8987 x equals 14. From here, to get x by itself, I'm dividing. X equals 14 divided by that 0.8987. So what I'm going to do is 14 divided by, and I'm going to copy and paste this whole thing. I'm going to tab up so it's highlighted, hit enter, and that copies and pastes it. I hit enter. I believe I said to round to the nearest tenth, so that would be 15.6. Number 2, I see a right triangle. Is there an angle involved? No. Since there's no angle involved, I use Pythagorean Theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So a and b are the legs. In this case, they are 6 and x. So it's 6 squared plus x squared equals 10 squared. 6 squared is 36. 10 squared is 100. Subtract 36, subtract 36. X squared equals 64. square root of both sides. You may need to put it into the calculator and get a decimal. It may ask you to leave it in radical form, but in this case, rad 64 is 8, so that's my answer. And that's it. If there's no angle involved, if it's only sides, if you have two sides of a right triangle and you want to find the third, then we use Pythagorean theorem. Number 3, I see a right triangle. Is there an angle involved? Yes, so I'm using SOHCAHTOA. Label A, O, and H. H, A, O. Again, the angle always connects the H to the A. Out of A, O, and H, which two are involved in this question? A and H. Cosine theta equals A over H. Theta in this example is X. A is 10. H is 26. Now, because X is with the cosine, to get rid of cosine, I do inverse cosine of both sides. That gets cosine to cancel. I have inverse cosine of 10 over 26. I go to my calculator to type in inverse cosine. I hit second cosine. Alpha y equals enter to type my fraction in. 10 over 26. And again, I believe I said to the nearest tenth, which would be 67.4. And that's my answer. So those are the 3 different types of questions that you might see. If there's an angle involved, it's SOHCAHTOA. If there's no angle involved, then it's Pythagorean theorem. If you're finding a side, then you're going to cross multiply and solve. If you're finding an angle, then you're going to do inverse of both sides. And that's it. This lesson is nothing new. It's just kind of putting it all together. It's just a bit of practice. I guess there's actually one more thing I can take a quick look at with you, and that would be number 13, which already has something done here. Let me just erase that. So here, I'm just asking you for trig ratios. So if I'm asking you for cosine of D, label, so let's mark D, label your H, your A, and your O. And then we're going to use SOHCAHTOA because it's asking for cosine in the first problem. Cosine is A over H. A is 12. H is 13. And I'm done. I don't need to do cross multiplication. I don't need to do inverse if it's just asking me for sine, cosine, or tangent. So that's how you would do this last set. Remember, when I switch over from angle D to angle B, the A and the O are going to switch. Now, this would be the A, and this would be the O if we're at angle B. H never changes, but your A and your O do change depending on which angle you're working with. So your class/homework is going to be to finish this. It's a very important practice sheet. There's nothing new for this lesson. It's just putting everything together. You are going to have a quiz at the end on this. And again, very, very important that you're able to do this stuff and you're able to know what to do when. If there's an angle involved, SOHCAHTOA. If there's no angle involved, Pythagorean theorem. And if it's SOHCAHTOA and you're finding a side, then you're going to cross multiply and solve. If you're finding an angle, that's when you use inverse. Have a great day.